Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker, shills, debt slaves, horse, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm a useful idiot. Welcome. And today let's go to Greece. And Greece isn't really on anybody's radar anymore. There's so many other problems in the Eurozone right now. But one of the things I've always been fascinated about is the whole idea of bankers raping a country like Greece. And I'm sure a lot of people can easily visualize what that entails, but other people have a hard time understanding or grasping the idea of how through legalities and debt and these arrangements and these agreements that we can end up having bankers arrange for a country like Greece to have all its public assets essentially transferred to elites or to oligarchs. So this is a situation we've seen before. Certainly the disintegration of the Soviet Union or the disintegration of Ukraine or Ukraine withdrawing from the Soviet Union and other situations all over the globe present themselves opportunities to have fire sales. For example, in Yugoslavia is dismantled or the Soviet Union is dismantled. There's a lot of wealthy oligarchs who are well placed take advantage of rock bottom prices on all those assets. And so a lot of oligarchs all over the world are able to amass these fortunes that way. And so we have a situation in Greece where in order for these bailouts to happen with the World Bank and the IMF and the EU, these certain certain clauses and certain things conditions have to be met, and they're put into these agreements. And in the case of Greece, for example, to get the next tranche of funds, they have to sell 50 billion euros worth of public assets at distressed prices to mostly foreign bidders, and German companies are generally the first in line. So we see a lot of examples of German companies snapping these up, and that's another reason why there's this animosity between particularly Greece and Germany as far as these funds are concerned, because rich German investors are getting to take advantage of these fire sales in Greece. So what happens is they create a new privatization fund, and then they earmark all this stuff that needs to be sold in public assets that are owned by the government, or to liquidate and create some cash to pay back these loans and somehow make the Greek economy work better. And of course, after this many years of doing that, 5, 6, 7 years, we can see that essentially what happens is Greece just continues to lose more and more of its assets until it's completely bought out by foreign investors. The new hopes put in that new Syriza government really never panned out. But anyway, let's get back to what kind of things are getting sold. So first of all, some lists that have come along with these articles point out the kind of things that are sold, and it gives a very clear picture of the kind of devastation this is having on Greece and its sovereignty and being under the banker boot. So various urban mass transit companies, the Athens Olympic Stadium, National Rail subsidiaries, the light rail operator, post offices, water and sewage utilities, ammunition and weapons manufacturers that the government was involved in, Athens Metro operator, Public Power Corporation, 14 different regional airports. And it also goes on to over 35 ports sold, over 3,000 pieces of public real estate, hotels, spas, camping areas, monuments, national roads, 40 different airports, military installations, national gas industry. Anything that the government was involved in is now essentially up for sale. Beaches, wetlands, water supplies. So that gives a pretty good picture of a very broad swath of Greece, formerly public assets, ostensibly owned by the people in the government, that are being transferred to foreign investors and local oligarchs. But one of the things that's hidden about how this kind of banker rape works in a country like Greece is that a lot of times banks are sold, or companies that have a broad portfolio of other investments in Greece. And when these banks and these other entities are sold, the loans are sold as well. And so we find a lot of small businesses and properties in Greece are also being bought up, and debt is being bought up by foreign investors. So that makes the tragedy in Greece all the deeper, because certainly when you have the long distance landlords and foreign investors, they're going to slash and burn these loans and these small businesses and properties. And so that's a hidden side of this. But that's how it works. You meet the conditions of these international banker scum, and so when people talk about the IMF and the arrangements that Germany and the EU have made for Greece, certainly one can only see it as utter exploitation. I certainly grant the fact that Greece got itself into this situation for a number of reasons that have been discussed ad nauseum over the years about squeaking into the Eurozone, cooking their books, and then not being able to meet the standards, and then having this huge social welfare state, and a poorly run tax system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is, right now, they're being sucked dry, and there's no end in sight. And I assume that even though Greece isn't in the spotlight right now, at some point something even more dramatic is going to happen there as a result of all this, and people will be paying attention again then. So I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.